in its own little place on our website, connected to our website, that people can get in every month and view what we did or what we talked about along the way.
And it's visual record keeping too.
That's what I thought. That was Elena's great idea, not mine. Okay.
Anybody?
Let me see if they'll roll call in.
Yeah, you could type a message to me.
Kim, are you there?
Yeah. Well, Gonzalez, is that Janice? Whoever Gonzalez JA is has the mute thing on, but I didn't see that on Brindle.
Janice, are you able to hear us now?
Kim, can you hear us?
I can hear you from.
Okay.
Janice, is that Janice? I mean,
Brindle
Kim.
Foundation.
Okay.
No, they should. So if you can hear us, but you don't have a microphone, what you might need to do is go ahead and disconnect your audio. So up at the mute button, you can go ahead and stop your audio and then restart it with the telephone. And Zoom will give you those instructions to connect. So if you're having some hard time being heard by us, we haven't heard anybody yet, so you might need to join by phone.
Technical difficulties.
Hi, this is Jackie. I do not have a microphone, but I will listen and
It's
chime in when
Jackie
I need
Gonzalez.
to. I can hear all of you. Okay, so they can both hear us. So that's good.
Great, thank you so
Thank you,
much,
guys.
Jackie, and thank you for joining us. I know how busy you are. Well, I know how busy you all are, and I appreciate everybody taking the time.
Oh, I'm making notation. Thank you.
Okay, so I guess at this point we'll go ahead and get started. We had a few more people say they were going to come and join us live, and they may just pop in while we're going, and we'll stop and let them introduce themselves and try to catch them up. The agenda, I hope that you can see it, Kim and Jackie. I've got it posted over here, and the documents that we talk about, I'll be sharing. So along the way, we can keep everybody open and access. So before we get started, if everybody will just take a couple minutes to introduce themselves, and I'll start. My name's Carol Conley. I'm a social worker here at Envision. I manage the Developmental Screening Quality Improvement Initiative. And this is an offshoot of that, where we're talking about social emotional screening. And I'm going to be your facilitator for the next year while we get all this amazing work done on that timeline. And I really, really appreciate that you guys have taken the time to come and volunteered to be a part of the committee. So thank you.
Thank you. I'm Jeanette Baca, and I'm basically a retired professor of counseling, but my new job is at YDI's Head Start program. I'm the director of mental health.
Okay.
And I was trained last year on the ASQ-SE2, done lots of training, and I'm really excited. I want to thank you for doing this because I totally believe in early intervention and early screening. So I know that this is a gap in New Mexico, so I'm excited that we're going to be working on this.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
I'm Gloria Bonner, Department of Health. I'm the Child Health Program Manager at the Family Health Bureau. And I have previously been the program manager for the Early Childhood Comprehensive Systems Grant, which we no longer have, but ECCS work continues.
Yes, and
So-
thank you for allowing us to partner with you and get this done
Oh.
and help us figure out committee members and which direction to go, Gloria. I really appreciate that.
Hi, and I'm Adrienne McConnell, and I'm a quality improvement specialist here at Envision New Mexico. And I'm going to be working very closely with Carol on this project to help her facilitate and make sure everything works really well.
I know.
And we meet our goal.
Yes.
I was off screen.
Oh, I'm off screen too, I think.
I know you. I think you were.
Oh, maybe
I
we
think I
have
need to
to
move.
Oh, you
You're
need to
in-
move
you're
to
in
the
chat box.
I'm in the chat box. I'll move.
So I'm Elena Scherer. I work here at Envision, New Mexico. Worked with the Early Success Grant last year and had helped with the focus groups and the interview data, compiling and writing the final report. So I'm very excited to be part of this and supporting this initiative.
I'm going to read for you, Jackie, if that's all right. Jackie Gonzalez has joined us. She doesn't have a microphone right now. She can chime in through the text box. Jackie is the EPSDT program manager at Medicaid. She also manages transportation services. And Jackie also attends the ECCS fairly regularly with the rest of us as we've been working on this screening stuff for the last couple years, and that new document turned out so well. So thank you, Jackie, and thank you for chiming in.
We expect like a response.
I know. Type fast, Jackie. And Kim, do you want to say a couple things? Sorry, 10-4. And Kim says, hi, y'all. Kim with the Brindle Foundation.
Hi, Kim.
Thank you all for coming. And let's get busy so we can meet our timeline and objectives. And like I said, some other people may join us, they may not, and we'll figure out next steps for next weekend. So the first thing I was going to have us do is the introductions, but I also wanted input from those of you that attended today about your thoughts of any gaps in our membership or people that we should reach out to. Adrienne and I can make a really strong effort to pull people in that we think might help us move it a little farther, faster. I think I've tapped out people who are interested in your group at ECCS.
Right. So it needs to be other people. Mhm.
One idea I've had and shared with Elena is that perhaps we would want to consider inviting some folks from the managed care organizations. And I don't know, Jackie, if you have thoughts on that, but I thought Molina and United are pretty flexible, interested, and committed to community type work.
Tina Ross, do you know
That's
Tina?
who I thought of.
Okay, she comes to the J. Paul Taylor Task Force meetings.
And so Janetta from FIT, Anna Maria Garcia from CDD, isn't she?
UNM.
It's UNM CDD stuff over the early childhood stuff there. She's going to join, and I thought she would be here today. We have Javier Aceves as a physician member. He just wasn't able to make it today, but he said he would like to work with us for the next year on this project. Okay. Another whole Elena and I have talked about is CYFD.
Yeah.
I mean, I keep thinking they're important players in this work for kids.
Another, and I don't know her name, and Kim, maybe you can help us with this, that there's a gal from CYFD that comes to the J. Paul Taylor Task Force meetings because they're talking ACEs and that kind of stuff. And I can't remember her name, but she sat on the other side of Kim Wednesday at the meeting. So if Kim can come up with her name.
And Jackie had a comment for us about the 4 MCOs.
Jackie says participation from all 4 MCOs is preferable. Please let me know who you need representation from, and I will make that happen. Jackie,
Wow.
Thank you.
Wow.
That's
Thank
great.
you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then Kim, if you remember, oh, I don't know her name. She's with CPS, so Child Protective Services.
Right.
And then who from home visiting
Oh,
at CYFD? I mean,
You're not, you're
that,
not thinking about Soledad Martinez. Huh?
that's not who I was thinking about. This is a younger gal. She's not a lot younger, but younger than me.
And I'm sorry, we have another comment, and I don't know her name either. She's with CPS.
yes, that's from Kim.
Okay, sorry.
We were trying to figure out who next door CYFD was. Someone sat next to him at the ECCS. So.
Okay. Well, Anna Marie Garcia is actually the one from UNM's, what's that program?
The yeah,
And
Joe DeBonis program. Do you
so
know
they
that?
oversee the CYFD home visitors.
Oh.
And so she's actually scheduled to Zoom in. So
Okay. Okay.
are you there, Anna? I don't know.
I haven't seen her pop up yet in the
Mhm.
participants. We'll just keep our fingers crossed
There's
because
been a lot of change at CYFD, and so I don't know exactly who is the home visiting person anymore.
And she's saying I can ask Elizabeth with Dr.
she's
She's office.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
That to find out the CYFD lady's name.
Okay.
Okay.
So Kim, you'll track that down for us, and we'll do some personal invitations and let them know where we're going and what we're doing. I think it'll be interesting as we form this group because there's all that stuff about when you form a new committee, the forming, storming, norming, and performing, right? It's like, okay, we're just trying to form right now, and then there'll be a little bit chaos as we all figure out our roles. And
Even, yes, we need CYFD home visiting, but we might want to consider somebody from, is it CHI St. Joe's?
oh,
yeah.
Because, I mean, they do have the largest home visiting program,
Yeah, that's a
right?
Yeah, in and of itself, yes.
Yeah.
We can. I work with them, so
Yes.
maybe we can ask Diane.
okay, okay. And I know Rachel Mitchell wanted to join this committee
Yes.
too. She just wasn't free today, and she does the New Mexico Resource and
Yes,
Referral,
yes.
so that
Mhm.
I think would be a good connection also.
Yes.
Okay. So, okay, we have some ideas. Jackie, I'll get back in touch with you, send an email, and we'll figure out a strategy for inviting our MCO folks to the table and some of these home visitors. I think that will be great. So, as you know, this group is focused on the social emotional screening and trying to incorporate that into everyday screening practice with the folks who have access and are already screening kids. I think it would be important for us in this committee work to be thoughtful about how we say it so that people don't get the impression we're trying to bump all the hard work on developmental screening. You know, because that needs to happen, but this needs to happen also. And I think sometimes people might perceive it as like, you know, we're going to just run down this road of social emotional screening and not really highlight the importance of developmental screening. And so I'd like to think of it, the words I've been using lately are universal screening for children and families, and also trying to frame it as equitable care so that every child at the appropriate visit gets the screening that's helpful to his or her family, right? And you walk through the door and it's all the same, and we're not going to make any judgments about which families need to be screened and which don't, because that's not equitable care in my mind. So if you guys are okay that we speak about it that way, universal, equitable screening for kids. Yes.
Okay, her name is Cynthia Chavers, Chavers.
Ah, she was in grad school behind me. I know Cynthia so
Okay.
well. That's great. Thank you. What? I didn't even think about that.
And that's with which
Cynthia
This is
Shaver.
CYFD gal.
Yes. Gloria, thank you.
Well, I fortunately have my computer, so I was able to go back and find the meeting notes.
Okay. So then let's talk about the project goals and objectives. Did somebody chime in? Good morning. I hear something. I know, the technology, right? Okay. So Elena, would you just briefly whatever you're comfortable with. We shared our final report from the phase 1 of this of this project. I don't know if you all had a chance to read it, but if you just say a couple of highlights about how we decided to go to this next part and build this committee, and any important things to note about this report. If you didn't, we attached it, but if you don't have it or you don't remember, I can pull it up here.
Get the right glasses.
Reading glasses.
Here is a copy of it. I attached it to an email. I don't know that I need to scroll through all the.
Maybe get to the diagram.
Okay.
Because we try to visually represent sort of a lot. We collected a lot of really good quotes from participants, and so you read that, and I think there are some of them are summarized. We don't have any quotes summarized. We actually have a full report that we have all the quotes from all the different so organized. It's very long. We decided not to have that as the final report. But if you're interested, I'm sure that's something we can do too, is to provide you with that so you can really see what the participants talked about.
Mm-hmm.
But basically what we try to do is summarize the viewpoints and perspectives into this figure 1. And, we have interviews with the medical providers. And what we found is that there's a really broad range of how people, the providers understand in terms of social-emotional screening, from some that say, well, I don't know what it is, to, and I don't do it, to like some of the providers who are really extremely sophisticated have that built into their practices.
Mm-hmm.
On the community side, the community stakeholders, we have the same sort of broad range too. From those who just said, well, I just don't know what it is. And, this is the first time I heard it when at the interview, to ones who are extremely, sort of invested in participating in the importance of social emotional screening in New Mexico. So that's sort of what we found. And in terms of the goal going into this year, our focus is
the social emotional piece. There are 2 outcomes that we are responsible for in this work for Envision, and that is to create and support a subcommittee within ECCS to build consensus around the value, structure, and process. So I see a big part of that is us developing the messaging around this for the various people which so segues so nicely to what's been happening with ECCS, right? So much of what we did at that last big meeting, that quarterly one, was around messaging. And then the next thing is to develop communication strategies for creating, I love these words too, for creating a culture of proactive, positive, and universal social emotional screening. Proactive, I think, being one of our key words, how important it is to step up and do it universally and not wait for your gut to tell you that something might not be going well. So with that in mind, let me I want to pull up the timeline real quick, because right now I have it highlighted as draft. And I did that so that I could just make sure and get some buy-in with this group that you think these activities and these final deliverables will be the thing that can showcase the effort we put into it and meet these objectives and goals. So some of it, so we established our subcommittee. There's some activities like creating a list of the tools. Are you all familiar with NASHP, who they are? That organization the National Alliance for State Health Policy. And they're a group that has worked in different states all over the U.S., a lot of them similar to ours, big health disparity and gap states, working around health policy related to early childhood. They are going to give us free technical assistance on this grant. And they want to help us figure out who are the people you need to talk to, what do your messages, like if we come up with a message that we think this is the message to hit the doctors with, they can give us input about fine-tuning it. What have other states done? All that TA for free. And they'll come visit us a couple of times during the grant if we would like them to. And I think we would, to hear what they have to say and how they've moved the dial in other states.
Right.
Did you have a question?
No, I'm just like,
Okay.
yeah, that's a great idea.
I invite
that's a
you
good
all to
opportunity.
visit their website because they break down the work they've done by states, tools that they've helped Medicaid and the community work together to say these are the best tools, this is how we pay. All of that stuff is listed by state. So
This is the National Alliance for State Health Policy.
yes, ma'am.
And the website, we have it somewhere? Or just
Probably
Google it up.
nashville.org.
That's what I'm thinking. It's nashville.org, but I'm not. That's a really good question. I'll make sure and provide that. That's a great question, and I don't know it off the top of my head. Part of our work is to present whatever policy. Oh, here's from Jackie Gonzalez. I will forward to the group the link. I get weekly updates from Nashville. Thank you, Jackie.
Cool.
Weekly update. I don't even get that from them, and they're supposed to be giving us TA. Awesome. I need to hang out with you more, Jackie. So present policy recommendations. And I think, too, Jackie, this is where some thinking from you will be really helpful to us, that we present policy recommendations that are really actionable, doable, and help us meet the goal. It's not gonna be helpful if we come up with lofty ideals about how this needs to be done. I mean, put the rubber to the road here in New Mexico, and we have to be conscious of what our barriers are and how we work around them or through them in a meaningful way. So anybody that wants to help me meet with MCOs, I'll appreciate it, because that's probably gonna be a little nerve-wracking. The decision-making algorithm for an endorsed list of screening tools. And I think, Jackie, that's a place where you can be helpful to me also, because you have some ideas about tools people submit, how you guys pay, what's open in your Medicaid, list of tools that people are willing or can use. And the algorithm piece, some of that work we've done in our developmental screening initiative, in the sense that we help providers figure out how to put it into clinic flow. And then when something pops up that you need to pay attention to, how do you work that into your flow? Who else needs to help you it's a team effort, right? The doc can't do it all by himself, not even with a nurse. It's just who at the front desk helps you, and then what happens at the end. So we'll come up with some of those clinic flows and algorithms about choosing tools and putting them into clinic practice. And we can try that out. One of the things that I think Envision has an advantage on right now is that we have that application with the American Board of Medical Specialties to provide board certification points to physicians who help us work on this. And it's free to them if they help us work on this. And they all have to have that to stay board certified now. So I want to leverage that.
Something in there for them.
Yeah. Yes. And if we've got some ideas about how to put it in clinic flow, all they need to do is try it out for us. Thinking of it in the QI lens, how are we going to prove the quality of screening? And then for that, I can give you CME and the board certification points. So that's also related, I guess, to the workflow samples. And see, here's the key messaging piece, and that I think we want to probably take some of the stuff that was done in ECCS and then figure out how to amplify it or massage it some way that it fits this idea of universal screening and social emotional with developmental screening. And they ask for consumers, families, I think, people that parent and take care of young children, their families, providers, funders, policymakers. How does that look? Is it multiple messages? Are there some that are shared between those groups? What do we need to say about this? That'll be some of our tasks along the way. And in this grant is some money that we could actually come up with real tools, like maybe they're clipboards with the algorithm. Maybe they're messaging billboards for families. I mean, in this grant, there is money for actual products related to this messaging and reminding people of the importance of. So I'm really open to ideas too about what does that look like, Who do we give out bags to home visitors that talks about these things? I think one of the things that stuck with me from the last ECCS meeting was Nancy's, when she said to remind families that it gets better. Because we often, you're afraid, and there's this identification of a gap or a need in either your child or your family, and then everybody's on you, right? Paying attention, EI or a social worker or whoever those helpers are who genuinely want to help. It might feel like you're rolling the boulder up the mountain at first, but if some way we can say to these children and families, it's going to get better because we identified this, because you have a team of people supporting.
And one of the things that the message I give when I do my trainings is that it's skill development. And it's just like other skills, a skill can be learned. And so that we're trying to identify where they're lower on this skill development so we can help them develop a skill. And I think when I frame it in that language, it's doable. It will get better because we didn't learn how to ride a car the first time we got behind a wheel.
Right.
And we didn't learn how to bounce a ball. And when they see their children doing physical activities, walking, crawling, and that progression there, the same thing happens in social emotional development.
Right.
And so that's how I present that particular domain to the people I train. So.
And that probably helps with normalizing, right?
Exactly.
I mean, this is not abnormal.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where the fear started. If there's a deficit, there's something wrong.
Yes.
Well, no, we just have to develop this skill.
Yes.
And I truly believe that.
That's great messaging. So, okay, let's see. From Kim, are you also familiar with HRSA Cruz et al. Research on increasing referrals and home visiting? Could be helpful. Teresa Cruz.
Teresa Cruz. Oh, yeah.
No, I am not familiar, but that is something I should look into. Thank you, Kim. Does anybody have any questions just about this timeline, our deliverables, and the activities we're thinking of to get it done? Or does it feel like it'll work for you, I guess?
It feels really comfortable to me, but I really think a lot of the work has been done, so we can establish a baseline of what are we dealing with here. You mentioned the word obstacles, and I think if I'm actually interested in reading the full report. And just looking at, we have to understand this is what we're dealing with right here. And so I just read a few of them, and I know that when I do my training, I spend a lot of time just on what is social emotional development. Because I think that has to be really clear. We all have to be on the same page as to what that means and what that involves. And then we can go for a screening. Because if we don't know what it is, then I think the whole messaging about screening becomes, well, what are we screening? So there's 2 steps, really, I think.
That's an interesting point, because I have thought social emotional screening sometimes can seem like it's in our vernacular because this is the work we do. And so we understand that word, but to your average family, I sometimes wonder if it might behoove us to say family well-being, child and family. We're screening for child and family well-being rather than social emotional.
Anything is better. Just a few years ago, we called it mental health, infant mental health. Well, people that I would talk to, do babies have mental health? What do you mean?
Right.
So then moving to social emotional, that made a little bit more sense, but I think your family and child well-being.
We're just looking for well-being.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
And when I train, because I have 300 teachers that I have to train who are sort of your lay people. They're not really trained in social emotional development. And I start off, well, tell me what that means. And every presentation I do, tell me what that means. And it takes a while. I said, do you like to socialize? What does that mean? I'm relationships. And then so then we establish I always need to know what they know before I move forward. And I think that if we jump into the screening piece without doing a lot of education on just what it is, developmental domain. I've had a parent who said, well, you said that my child's very smart, very intelligent. Then why are you saying that they're having some problems here with the relationships and so I have to explain there's different areas of development, and this is just another area. I could say domain, but then I'd be using fancy words. Okay, so we want to bring up this area where their intelligence is, and so I just think there's so much work that needs to be done on educating what that is.
So that's the messaging piece. I mean, it seems like we keep going back to how are we going to talk about this to people who need to know and understand so that we all buy in.
It's the parents.
Yes.
I mean, that's who we need to talk to about this.
I know. Any thoughts?
But anyway, the timeline looks good.
Well, thank you. Any thoughts, Jackie or Kim, about the timeline? Are you comfortable? Can we all agree this is what we're going to do and move forward, and then I'll take draft off? Sounds great, Jackie says. Perfect. So we will share this final report, thank you, Elena, so that you have more robust findings and can, dig in the data a little bit. Because I should say out loud. Oh, I was going to move to data, but before we do, this agenda that we're doing, this is a concept we use, and I'll fill this in with the members, that came on today, both via Zoom and live. And what I like to do with this, and if this is okay with you guys, I send it out, this is what we're working on, then we work on this stuff, and I fill it in with next steps and who said what and important things to note, and I send it back out. And it's this back and forth constant reminder of what we need to talk about and what we have talked about and what we're doing. And when I send it out, because it's a shared agenda concept, if you guys think of something, we need to talk about this, Carol, don't forget it, send it back to you. You can highlight it, send it back to me. I'll fix it and resend it to the group. I like to think of it as a living document, and it will track what we're doing and who shows up and how we do it through the initiative. It's kind of like a data piece. So if that's okay with you in this group, I would love to keep using this shared agenda, and we'll just correct as we go along.
I like the idea.
Okay. You like that? Okay. So, got the agreement on the shared agenda. We talked a little bit about the final report, and I will make sure that everybody gets a copy of the full report. The data collection in this is really easy because it's that we do our tools and have our meetings and track, come up with some messaging. The deliverables, anything that we want to make product-wise is up to us. There's no expectation from our funders that it has to be A, B, or C. So it's whatever we think is going to be most helpful to families and people who screen them and physicians.
So, Carol, I know you've mentioned this probably, and I didn't.
That's fine.
Who are the funders?
The Alliance for Early Success.
Okay. Oh, okay.
On the bottom of the agenda, that group, they funded us for this first round. They were pretty happy with what we did.
All right. There.
I should back up a second because I don't think I said clearly that this is still work going on with Pegasus. However, we drew a very clear line about what they do and about what we do because we are not in the business. I work for the university, you work for the state. We don't go up and lobby and advocate and, we don't pick fights with Medicaid. We don't pick fights with DOH. We're trying to get everybody working in the same way moving forward. So they have some tasks. Some of what they're going to do is take what we do and figure out how to take it to the legislature and get it done. Okay. So we stay out of that piece. There's a very clear line between their work and our work, but it informs each other. They attend the J. Paul Taylor meetings, right? So there will be a back and forth sharing of information in this subcommittee. So I wanted to say out loud that they're our partners, but there are clean lines between their work and our work, so none of us get in trouble. Someone sent I know, email. Sorry about that. So, speaking of that, back to the data. A simple strategy Elena and I have come up with together. I'm going to share this, and I bet you I don't have it up there, Elena, for the, no, for the
it's
team.
on
And
the N drive.
I'll send this out to you, Jackie and Kim. Sorry I didn't preload it in here so you could see what we're talking about, but it is a simple survey that we're looking at tracking people's activities. This is all electronic, so it'll be, I'm talking 3 minutes of your time, one after a meeting and one before a meeting, so that we have some qualitative data about the work we're doing together. Because it's not just in the numbers, it's about the activity, the effort, so at the before meetings, we would look at this one. And the question is, who did you have an opportunity to talk about social emotional screening? Who out there did you visit with about this topic from month to month, in between when we meet? Ideas you got from them, concerns you got from them. We have a place for other, because maybe it's somebody we haven't even thought about who has a really good idea or who has access to someone who could help us get the work done. And then who outside of New Mexico, because there's a chance NASHB will talk with each of us individually, and we're just wanting to track that effort. And then what were the topics of conversation? And that also has an other. And if there's any highlights you would want Elena or Adrian and I to know, a text box will open up. So you'll get this link regularly before we meet, so that then it could be part of the things we track in our shared agenda, because we might find commonalities between us. Does that make sense? Yeah. And then after the meeting, I'm looking for feedback. This is a kind of facilitation I've never really done before, so I'm going to be learning stuff myself as I go along. And so some questions I have, then this...
Can somebody join us?
Kim's on the camera.
Hi, Kim. I wish I knew how to zoom in the camera so you could see my survey. Hold it up. And...
Yeah.
You could probably put it right in front of the camera. I mean,
I don't know. Or well, we could ask Kevin, how could I zoom
You know,
in?
I can go send it out.
But then we would have to get it off his email and everything. Oh, send it out to them, to
Yeah.
Jackie and Kim?
oh yeah, I can do that.
You have a copy?
I can scan these real quick and
I
send
thought
it
I
to
sent
you.
it to you guys.
Oh,
This
you
is
did
the-
yesterday. Yep.
There's a
Mhm.
PDF.
Thank you, Adrian.
Yeah.
Okay, Jackie and Kim, a copy of this
Yeah,
survey that we're
everybody's
talking about right now is coming, so that you can see the questions and what we're trying to get at. One is pre-meeting, one is post-meeting. So now we're going to talk about the post-meeting real quick. First question is, what worked well for the subcommittee this meeting? What things are going well? How are we getting it done? Then what is most challenging for us? And if you have any ideas about how we might improve our work, my facilitation, how we get together, any of that stuff, I'm open to it all. So that this will come electronically, it'll be quick through REDCap, and then along the way we'll share how it's going and what we're getting from people. Oh, I thought that was going to be a question. So that'll be coming shortly so you can see the survey. Is that all right that I ask you for this?
Oh, yeah.
I just don't want it to feel like busy work, but I'm thinking it could be really important for us when we tell the story in the final report. If when you walk away from here, next couple of days or whatever, you think, oh, you should be asking about A, B, or C, send me an email, because it's easy for us to incorporate ideas into this survey tool. Other than that, the only data we would collect would be in our regular QI screening initiative with physicians. We would probably have them give us some data about tools they're using related to social emotional, maybe highlight it for this work, because I'm hoping physicians will test drive some of the ideas or products that we come up with in this year.
How many physicians are you working with this year?
Well, right now we have 3 practices. La Casa in the southeast side of the state, La Casa Family Health. So it's Roswell, Clovis, Hobbs, Portales area. And they're working just on basic developmental screening. We haven't reached out yet to get someone to try SWIG or some other thing related to this child and family well-being or social emotional screening.
And I think that, and I might have mentioned it at one of our other meetings, is we need to make sure they know what we mean with social emotional. I mean, I keep hammering on that, but I have seen diagnosticians use personal social and think they're doing social emotional,
Right?
and they'll use the ASQ3, which doesn't have social emotional. And so I think when we start determining whether or not what they're using, I think we need to be really clear on what we mean, because even professionals
Oh, yeah.
are unclear, or they're, like I said, they're collapsing personal social with social emotional, and they think it's the same thing, and it's not.
And it's not.
No.
Which goes back to why we're going to spend so much time messaging, because we're still doing that with ECCS, messaging about this topic. So some clarity, I think, when we do training is a really, this is what we're talking about, separate from your MChat, separate from your ASQ.
Right.
If it doesn't have the
Right.
SE, it's not related to social
Exactly.
emotional.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's simply stated. Yeah. Which again, I mean, ultimately it affects the accuracy of screening kids. And I've had screening results returned back to me saying, oh, they're just fine, no problems. And the kids definitely has some, and we've probably screened them on ASQ-SE2, and we did notice. And so, oh, what did you use? And they use, oh, we used the ASQ3. And so that's a big issue with me. And I just want to be really clear that everybody's really clear.
Yes, and I think that's really important. And it showed up in the report stuff, how many
I bet.
physicians were confused about that.
If diagnosticians were, seriously.
Okay. Well, that's something to think about.
For sure.
So, any questions about the data we're trying to look at as it relates to timeline, as it relates to how we work together? Anything going forward? Feel okay? Okay. And because we are a change organization, if it's not working, we'll notice, you'll tell us, and we can flex. I mean, that's part of being a QI, right? Is continuous quality improvement and looking at how we can do it better, say it better, share it better. So I'm curious, before we move on to if we want to talk about, identifying some tasks for us between now and next meeting, do you think, because, I had more people say they would come this morning than actually showed up here. And so do you think, as my committee member sitting here now, that it would be helpful or useful to meet in person one more time next month and then try to go to Zoom, or should we just start Zooming?
I think in person is always the best. I think Zoom is a great alternative, but it's, with Kim and Jackie not being able to actually speak back to us, that is a little hindrance. So I think in person's always the best.
Okay. And we could, we could meet here every month and still have people chime in through Zoom if they can't make it.
Maybe we should ask some of our Zoom folks if they would. I agree with you,
Kim,
Gloria,
about meeting in person versus Zoom.
I think one thing too, today we were running into this scheduling situation, and we didn't know that we had Zoom, but we should have time enough before to set up so that we can hear everybody.
Sure.
And I think the importance is face-to-face, obviously. So if we can have Zoom and actually be able to have camera, that would be so much better. But even voice.
And I do know lots of times when I Zoom, I have to do something funny with my headset so that I can hear and be heard. So there are,
yeah, right.
I mean,
there's
there are
little
issues on my end as well as,
Well, Kim says he agrees that in person is best, and Jackie also says that, and she says she's sort of limited. So we can make it, Jackie, that if you can come, great, and if not, we'll always have this Zoom link, and going forward, we'll make sure we're set up earlier than the meeting starts. I think we bumped up against Kevin in his schedule and having 2 other IT telehealth people out of the office today. That's not usually the norm, so that should be smoother going forward. So having said that,
Well, yeah.
We're going to
So
have a new system too.
that's right. So
I mean,
that
with the phone? Or?
With the speaker, whatever.
Yeah, so we can also maybe include a dial-in number so people can talk live
okay.
and hear us live,
Right.
I forgot that they were doing that upgrade. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to put that down then too.
Just for people who really can't make it. It would be nice.
Is there a day and time that's better for everybody? Because I was thinking, like your ECCS group, it's always the second Wednesday, right?
Mhm.
We just know it's in our calendars. How can we do that for this meeting, for this subcommittee? Because I keep thinking it's probably not our best option to do it after ECCS, because a lot of people that they've already given that 2 hours and then sometimes 3. And so that, may, and your brain gets tired. I mean, that's a lot of information and work to do, right?
Mhm.
So I'm thinking it probably should be on a separate time than the ECCS, but regular meeting
Are you
time.
looking at monthly or?
Yes, that's part of our expectation with the Alliance is that we meet with you monthly. And as many people can come will come, but since you guys are here, oh yeah, for Kim, ECCS is good because it reduces travel for him. I always forget you're in Santa Fe. Same with Jackie. Pros and cons.
The way to do a break so people can.
I don't know if I could get away for longer than what I do. I barely make it as it is now, just because things come up at work. This time slot is actually really good, but sometimes I take 3-day weekends. But other
No,
than
I know.
that, I could.
But like Fridays from 9 to 10? Second Friday, last
Yeah.
Friday?
That works for me. I think it does because usually by then, but end of the week, I've already put things in place. And
Okay. And our minds are on the subject. There's that too. It would be a challenge for me. Just
it's a bigger chunk of time for me to be gone.
do you have any thoughts? Like, because I know you've got a lot going on too, Gloria. Do Fridays work for you?
Sure, for the most part.
For the most part. Should we try the last Friday of the month for the next 2 months and see if that works for us?
Sure.
Because that would be a quarter of meetings. The last Friday of the month starting at 9 o'clock.
Yeah, this is my schedule.
And you said 9 to 10. It would be an hour after this.
Yes.
This first meeting.
I was trying to give us a little more time to go over some of the
Yeah.
tools,
Mhm.
and make agreements about our timeline and.
Yeah, that actually
Do
works
you want it
really
to be
well
the
for me.
last Friday and not the fourth Friday?
Oh, because some have.
Some have 5.
That's true.
I didn't think
Yes,
about that.
I
That's a
did.
good point, Gloria. Fourth.
October only has 4. 1, 2. November is going to be an issue because of Thanksgiving.
Right. That fourth Friday. Is there 5 in November?
No, there's only 4.
November. Probably.
Kim has. I have to look.
So
For
we
those-
can think about it between now and October 27th and do October 27th and then maybe open it up for discussion again.
Okay.
That's a good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because October 27th right now is open for me.
Sure.
October 27th at 9 a.m.
And then we can talk about it again then.
That sounds fine with me. I can figure it out.
So we're going to try October 27th at 9 a.m. I know it's a hassle for you guys to travel from Santa Fe, and maybe we can figure something out that I don't know how, I'm not quite sure how to attach it to ECCS, even though I know that'd be convenient because my schedule is so crazy right now too. But for now, let's plan on October 27th at 9. We'll share the Zoom link again, and we'll have it set up earlier than it was this morning in case, Jackie, it's going to be easier for you to just chime in via Zoom.
Understood. I can. Oopsie. We can rotate Zoom for the other 2 groups.
Well, thank you. Okay. And we'll try it out. And if it's, and if it's not going to work and it really is better since most of us attend ECCS, then we can think about that also. We're moving through our agenda. Yay. So a couple of things I have on the agenda, this deliverables update, and I figured that's where we would just check in monthly about how we're going in development of any products we want to come up with in our messaging. And I think maybe next meeting, Gloria, we should start with some of your notes with the messaging that was developed in ECCS. And how do we, massage that, tweak that, amplify, or add to those messaging things that were developed to focus on this universal child and family well-being screening or social emotional, because some of that work's already been done. And I think part of this is a partnership, and we're going to use the things in ECCS so that it all fits together. So I think that would be something for us to do at the next meeting. And then from there we can decide, maybe that would even help us come up with tasks more concretely or more meaningful. I also have these spaces here in this shared agenda about other topics as needed, because I don't know that I covered them all, or have, there may be something we realize that we're talking about every single month and it just needs to be added to the agenda. But right now this is, just my brainstorm of how I figured we would discuss things and move through the project. If anybody has any ideas right now about what we need to add to this agenda, type them in or let me know, or if you think about them afterwards, you can send me an email. Any questions from anybody? Concerns? Interpretive dance moves?
Kim looks awfully pensive there. It's the person told, okay, for Sabrina to come to the train.
Okay, great.
Okay. So it seems like everybody's okay with how we're moving forward. So I'm going to take this off. And it is no longer a draft. Jackie, just a question for you about I think we could talk offline about the MCOs. I really appreciate your help with that. I was wondering if maybe you and I, one of the tasks could be before our next meeting, that you and I talk about this list of tools idea, because I think it would be so helpful to have your perspective. I know there's stuff already opened up on the Medicaid pay and reimbursement of who can administer and how they get paid and the codes related to that. And I wonder if you and I could just have a discussion about that between now, today, going forward before our next meeting, to see what, oh, you've already said yes. Thank you. Thank you. We could talk about that and bring that back to the group, because some of that work's already been laid down. And I think Jackie's going to have some good ideas about which parts are open to some negotiation or to adding a particular screening tool to what they're doing already. So that's going to be my task. Gloria's task will be to share some messages with us.
I'll go back through my little file and see what.
Yeah, there was some good stuff on those.
Done.
And I was thinking I should have taken a picture of some of those sticky notes, because there was some really great ideas came out around messaging in that last meeting. So I am also going to send an email to NASHB and ask them when they might want to visit Albuquerque, but I'm going to ask them to give us.
Jackie is live now.
Jackie!
And there's Anna. That's Anna.
Oh, that's Anna. Okay.
Hi, Anna.
Oh,
Hi. Welcome to the meeting. We will be sharing notes of everything that's happened so far, so that you don't feel, behind or lost, or we're, going to go ahead without you, because we need you, and I really, really appreciate you taking the time to join the group.
Great, thank you.
Oh, we can hear her really well.
Yay. Will you just say out loud for the group who you are, your role, and because we did a little bit of introductions, and I have a new couple of team members here from Envision, so if you would just introduce yourself real quick.
Okay, I'm Anna Garcia, and I'm with the UNM CDD, and I'm a training and development consultant for the home visiting programs.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
As a way for them to just practice. I mean, I guess part of what I would say is if
Thank you. Okay. So I was just looking over my my timeline here real quick to see if there's, oh yes, I was going to mention, I'm going to talk with NASHB and see if they'll give us 3 to 4 months before they come visit. There is a conference they're hosting in Tampa in November. Like, oh, I hope it's kind of cleaned up from all the water that got inundated, and I'll be going for sure, and there's a chance Adrian's going to be traveling with me, and we will talk with them about these first steps we're making and where we see the opportunities for their technical assistance. So that'll be another one of my tasks. And then one other thing is that I thought I could share, because I do have some workflow models, what we call delivery system designed. And I could share those with you, because some of you that actually, train screeners or talk with people who do screening will have some input about how they maybe need to be tweaked. Because they don't, it sometimes is not a one size fits all. The workflow models, and so if we maybe have a couple of options, so I will share those and you guys can take a look at them and see any thoughts you have. I can't think of any particular tasks right now after this first meeting other than the couple that I've talked about. Do you guys have anything you think needs to be done before the next time we meet? Looks like he's typing. One task I can think of off the top of my head is for me to send you that first link for that first survey for you guys to put in your thoughts about this first committee meeting. Okay, so Kim says he's asked Teresa Cruz to send the one pager on her research she presented at the Bernalillo County Home. That would be great. And share that with the group, and we could see, what direction she's headed in and how we align with that. I do want to be very conscious that we, and me as the facilitator of this group, that we align what we're doing with what's happening out, and that we don't knock people off a path they're going down that's working well. I also don't want us to be resistant to, if we see where it's not working, to just say that out loud. We appreciate you've been doing that work. We notice A, B, or C hasn't shifted. We would like to help you in that effort, because we're all convening, working on this also. So to be thoughtful about what people are already doing, but to be conscious that if it doesn't seem like it's getting traction, that we're willing to kind of step in and bump it a little. Because we only have 12 months to get together and do this. And sometimes in my mind, I think, oh, that's plenty of time. And I think that's... push the boulder uphill in 12 months.
Saying that, Janice and I have talked. Janice Gonzalez is my bureau chief and boss. And so, in the past, ECCS has been funded, and we've had things we had to get done. Well, now we no longer are. So we need a project, not just come to meet. So we need to do something that enhances what this committee is doing, but doesn't step on toes. We don't want to duplicate anything, but we need a project that for the whole group to do that somehow
Relates?
relates
Or supplements.
or supplements or something like that. And again, I don't want to do anything that's on here
No, but
unless there is something on here that needs extra attention from everybody else.
see, that I think could be a really great. Thank you for offering the time of your ECCS to work on a project with us, because I think the folks in that room would come up with some really good
Oh,
products.
yes.
They would say, this, and this. This is who you give. This is what you give to families. This is what you give to doctors. This is what you give to funders or screeners or whoever. I think they would be really helpful in informing us with what a product and deliverable might look like. We can meet these goals. We can come up with the messaging. You know, we can come up with a provider change package or whatever. Those folks could help us drive the products. What does it look like? Is it just a billboard campaign? I don't know. You know, I don't know at this point. But I think input from that group, Gloria, would be how quickly they committed to and moved the developmental screening paper. I mean, that was phenomenal.
Well, that was all Jessie.
She's good. She's good. So, okay. Well, I think that if nobody has anything else, we could adjourn a little early. I have some follow-up things that I will send you. Anna Maria, you weren't on when we talked about the survey piece. I don't know if you received it in the email yet, but it's just 3 questions. I promise it won't take more than 3 or 5 minutes of your time. We're going to be trying to do this after every meeting so we have some qualitative data. And it's just simply about this meeting. Any thoughts you have or any ideas of stuff you think we should be doing in this committee. So I'll be sending that out shortly.
All right, I apologize for me coming late. It does say that it has been recorded, so if you send me the link, I can watch the beginning of the meeting and then I can fill out that survey more appropriately.
Yes, thank you very much.
You're
And
welcome.
I will send the link, and just so everybody knows, we're going to record every meeting, and it will be housed in a place that you have an access key, and you can get in there and watch or rewind or review or be reminded of something. So I think that'll be helpful to us too, because I know everybody can't make every meeting, but we can follow up with each other through this video recording.
Great, thank you.
What else? Do we need more coffee?
I don't need any tea. I drink tea.
Okay, so if nobody has anything else, we can adjourn. I will update this agenda and send it back to you so you know where we're at and what we'll be working on next time. And Jackie, I'll follow up with you. I sure really, really appreciate you guys taking the time to call in.
And our next meeting is the
October 22nd, 7th at 9 a.m. And Kim said, thanks everyone and have a great weekend. You too. Don't get rained out there in Santa Fe.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Have a good
Thank
weekend,
you.
Everyone.
It's nice meeting you.
You too.
Nice meeting you.
Nice
I think
meeting you
maybe
too.
we've seen each
Jackie
other.
says thank you. and
Probably
see you
done
next
too, yes.
meeting.
Yeah. I used to be at YDI too. I was
Oh,
back in
I didn't know that.
2000.
What role did you have
I
there?
was the education manager.